Welcome to 2026, an unprecedented year of new beginnings. We have so many cycles, including astrological ones, which are all beginning again. And these aren't just necessarily once in our lifetime, they are in many lifetimes, because some of these cycles are hundreds, if not thousands of year cycles. And it's important to remember that the planets we're talking about, the slow moving outer planets, were not discovered the last time that they were in this alignment together. And so, although the energy was there, it was not part of our conscious awareness. And we're entering an era of fire and air, and those elements are very fast and very dynamic. We will feel the speed of energy ramping up from 2026 all the way through, at least for the next 7 years. So let's have a look at 25 going into 26. Last year, 2025, was very much a year of transition. Think of it as the movie trailer year, because the planets dipped into their new signs from March, April through till about September. We got a sneak preview of the energy that was going to come. But then from September onwards, one by one, those planets retrograded. They went back into their previous signs. So for a lot of people, that was a sense of going backwards, having to revisit, reflect, review. Things were coming up in order to release them and to learn the lessons. And that is very befitting of the numerology universal year 9, the end of a cycle, culmination, integration, and release, ready to begin again. We also, in the Chinese calendar, it was the year of the wood snake, and that snake energy also is very much about shedding and release, ready to move forward. And the last time we had a wood snake year was in 1965. So 26 is a very different energy. It's a new beginning, a universal year 1, courage, initiation, and we're moving into the fire horse energy in Chinese. Important to remember that shift actually doesn't happen until the 17th of February, not right at the beginning of the year. So we really need to drill down on understanding our elements to really grasp the changes of what are going to happen in 26. So in astrology, the planets are the energy drivers. They bring us the archetypal energy we work with. How that energy expresses itself and how we feel and experience the energy is through the zodiac signs. And those signs can be broken down into the 4 elements of fire, earth, air, and water. And we can further break down those elements into the yang and yin. Remember, life is about balance. We need both. And fire and air together are the yang elements. They are very forward thinking. They are very fast. They propel us forward and outward. And water and earth are receptive, passive, slower energies. And we've had for the last at least 7 years, all of the outer planets in yin, slow, receptive signs. And we are now moving into at least the next 7 years where the outer planets that affect all of us are moving into fire and air. And later in 2026, we have many more planets moving into those elements. Let's look at the key months for the year coming. February lights the match of that fire. That is the seed point that begins things. In April, that fire really ignites and we'll start to really feel that energy more personally. In July, we have more planets moving, different shifts. The energy will really become rapid from July. That's a really intense period from February through to the summer. Then at the end of the year, October, November, we're being asked to reflect, review, and integrate the lessons that we had and we've learned during 2026. So here we are in February, these seeds of the new beginnings. And the most significant astrological transit of the whole year is where the 2 planets, Saturn and Neptune, will co-join at 0 degrees of Aries. The last time they co-joined at this degree was at least 2,000 years ago, and some sources say it was as much as 9,000 years ago. there isn't actually accurate data, but this is a massive shift of them co-joining at this creator beginning degree of the zodiac. If you know tarot, this would be the full degree. This would be the beginning of a whole new journey. It's the primordial seed of every possibility that could follow. We also in February have the first of the eclipses, which will be moving into their new signs, which is Aquarius, which is beginning to build seeds of new communities, new collectives. That energy again comes in July, but we get a little seed, a little glimpse of that energy. Remember, Aries is the spark of divine consciousness in esoteric astrology. So think of that seed under the ground, the huge power, and it's being ignited in February. So then we move into April, and this energy starts to feel more real. Those two planets that moved into Aries are now joined by a record number of 7 planets, all in that first sign of the zodiac. And very significantly, within those planets, we have the new moon in Aries. New moons are always a point to set a new intention. And this new moon, the sun and moon together, are exactly conjunct the wounded healer Chiron. And remember, Aries is about our identity. Who am I? This is asking us, who am I now? Not even who was I 6 months ago, not even who was I with that skin I needed to shed. Who am I now? And Aries is brave and courageous and asks us, do we have that courage to begin again? With Neptune there as well. Neptune represents our spirituality. So we can see this real rise of this brave, new spiritual warrior energy, because Neptune has left Pisces, where it may have been feeling more victimhood. Pisces, remember, is yin. There can be a sense of it's happening to me. I have no agency. And now in Aries, we feel we have that bravery and courage. So underpinning all of these changes in astrology, we have the slow moving planets, the outer planets that we can't see with the visible eye. And they are in a very benevolent, harmonious aspect pattern to each other. We have Pluto, the planet of transformation, Neptune, the planet of our dreams, intuition, and spirituality, and Uranus, the planet of innovation, the planet of out-of-the-box thinking. And they are all in this positive formation with each other called a minor triangle. So let's break these down and what they actually mean. So Uranus in Gemini is an 84-year cycle. Uranus brings innovation, new ideas, cutting-edge thinking. And in Gemini, it's going to bring new forms of communication, very fast information spreading. Neptune going into Aries, it's co-joined by Saturn to make it feel more real. That's a 165-year cycle. Nobody alive today will have been alive when Neptune was last in Aries. And this is a new spiritual beginning. Neptune also rules creativity and imagination. So we may see new forms of art, new creative arts, new ways of building and working with our imagination and passion. And again, remember, it's leaving Pisces. There may be a sense of confusion and fog with Neptune in Pisces, and this fire of Aries will burn that off. And underpinning it, we have Pluto transforming society. That's a 248-year cycle. And so again, nobody alive will have experienced this. And it's revolutionizing technology, bringing us together in human collectives and community. Previously, it was in Capricorn, which was favoring hierarchies, top-down structures. So together, these are all working in this minor triangle to bring in the changes on a societal level. And these planets will be there for many years to come. Uranus will stay in Gemini until 2032. Neptune will stay in Aries until 2038. and Pluto in Aquarius till 2044. This is the era of fire and air. So the strongest of this is the trine between the two air signs, which is Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. And that's going to revolutionize how we think, communicate, and how we use and integrate technology into our lives. We could see an intellectual revolution. Our relationship with AI and technology will go forward in huge, fast leaps. We may see the old forms of media crumbling and new media growing, much more grassroots, much more befitting of serving the people rather than serving the hierarchy. We're going to have new conversations, new ideas. The air signs are about our intellect and connecting with ideas. So we can see this information, how we share it, moving at a real pace. We can also see some breakdown of things that don't serve us anymore. And from that breakdown, a breakthrough, a new ways of doing things. We could see energy medicine, I think, going to another level and an acceptance. We add this air element together, it speaks of quantum. I think we're going to have quantum leaps in understanding how we work with that quantum energy. So they're the outer planets. We also have a shift with Jupiter and Saturn. So these are planets that we do see with our naked eye. And together, Jupiter and Saturn will govern how we work in society. So we're much more conscious of the energies of these two planets. And Jupiter together, they work in tandem. Jupiter, the biggest planet in the solar system, expands. It expands our dreams, beliefs, and it's what brings us together in society because we want the same thing. The planet that's after that, Saturn with its rings, it contracts, it constricts. So if Jupiter has expanded too much, it counterbalances. And so within society, Saturn represents the rules, the structures, the limitations of society. And they have a dance between them, these two planets, that show up in how society looks. Jupiter expands and is cohesive, and Saturn brings structure and restrictions. We can see two very different images here of what that would be. Now, these two planets come together every 20 years for a new dance between the two planets. What's fascinating is that those 20-year cycles form part of a much bigger meta cycle. And that meta cycle of these new beginnings of the Jupiter-Saturn dance will change element every 200 to 240 years. They will be in the same element for over 200 years. And in 2020, we began a new cycle. And that was where Jupiter and Saturn joined at 0 degrees of Aquarius, air. So we had a shift from 200 plus years of this societal pattern being in Earth to shifting in air. And if we go back, we can see that 240 years ago was the birth of the Industrial Revolution. It was about stuff. It was about materialism. It was about making tangible things, about structures. Shifting from earth to air moves much more from material power into information and intellectual power. And although that seed began in 2020, we were not really aware of it. Now these two planets are at a critical point in their dance together where they're in what's called the trine. Their energies are expanding and working towards the goal of that 20-year cycle. And they are coming together by degree, by aspect in fire elements. So we've got more of this fire coming in. The energy is going to be fast. Literally the next 2 decades will move faster than the last 2 centuries with this energy. In July, the energy really ramps up. Before then, we still had some planets in water signs. In July, Jupiter, which is part of this dance with Saturn, enters Leo. Jupiter spends about 1 year in a sign. So at this point, we have no planets from Jupiter outwards in Earth and water. And Jupiter expands the qualities of the sign that it's going through. So positively, Leo is a heart-led, passionate, generous, authentic sign. So we could see a real expansion of that heart-led self-expression, shining from our heart, connecting with our heart, that human compassion for each other, an expansion of our confidence to be who we are, to shine the light. And remember, this is going to be in a conversation with those planets that are in Aries, which are who am I? We could see creative growth and recognition of that. And we could see a real reclaiming of our personal authority within our leadership. Remember, this is a fire sign, so we could see risk-taking as well. We could see bravery. We could see passion with this energy. We also, in July, at the same time that Jupiter is going into Leo, we have the lunar nodes shifting sign. So during all of 2025 and the first half of 26, the nodal axis was in Pisces Virgo, water and earth. The nodes in astrology are like our cosmic compass. They guide us to realign and rebalance the two signs that they fall across. So very much they've been in Pisces Virgo, guiding us through this period of transition, because with the North Node in Pisces, it's been asking us to trust the process, to go with the flow, water, Pisces. But we have this shift in July of 26 that will take us all the way through next year, 2027, and the North Node will move into Aquarius. Aquarius is all about community, about collaborating, about doing things for the greater good, for the collective. And where we've got the North Node in Aquarius and the South Node in Leo, we are balancing the qualities of both signs. So the polarity of Aquarius Leo is my need to shine as my authentic self, Leo. It's about me. Look at me. And Aquarius is about what can I do within society for the greater good. So we're balancing this need to shine as you and how do you belong within society. We get these two right, and we have a collection of individuals shining their authentic heart-led selves, but coming together for shared goals and purposes. I put here a picture of an orchestra. To me, that's a really beautiful symbolism of Aquarius and Leo, because Leo is about performance. It's about creative arts. So music is a very Leo thing to do. But when we come together in an orchestra, we understand that within that music, there's an ebb and flow. At some points, one instrument is going to be louder than others, but we want to create something that is bigger than the sum of all of its parts. That would be an orchestra, a choir, anything where we're collaborating, yet we're still individually shining. We're going to be moving from personal glory to connecting with our collective purpose. We're going to be redefining leadership and asking ourselves to let go of the Leo ego, because Leo can be that, asking us, are we doing it from pride or ego, or from a genuine heart-led fire? We're definitely going to see an increase of networks, collectives, and the need to work together, teamwork. Aquarius is also very future oriented. It's very much about innovation. So we're going to be moving away from traditional structures of things and looking at new ways of doing things. The strap line, one of the strap lines for Aquarius is where we are different and where we make a difference. I think that's very Aquarius Leo. So it's about shining your light and asking what can that light bring to the collective. Now we've got all of this fire and air. we have some balance here in the elements. And that's first of all coming from the Mercury retrogrades that we have during 2026. Mercury retrogrades 3 times a year for about 3 weeks at a time. Mercury is the planet of our learning, thinking, speaking, information processing. And all 3 of the Mercury retrogrades during 2026 are in emotional water signs. We've got the dates here. We're in Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So these are times of emotional retrospection, reconnecting, going inwards, slowing down. In this really, really fast energy, these are really valuable pause points to check back in with intuition, to check back in with your, does this feel right? Does this feel in alignment with myself? So these are very, very key balancing elemental periods. We also have at the end of 2026 a Venus retrograde. They don't happen that often. They happen around every 18 months. So it's very significant that during this year of new beginnings, we have a Venus retrograde in October and November. So again, interesting, October, November, these are times to reflect and review. We have Mercury, our thinking, learning, speaking, asking us to reflect on our thought processes. And then we also have Venus retrograde. And Venus represents our values, our self-worth, and how we interact and relate and connect to others. And this Venus retrograde very much has 2 distinct parts to it. The first part of the retrograde is in watery Scorpio. Scorpio dives deep in our emotions. It asks us to go into places that are maybe hidden. So we're going to be taking a really deep look at our values, at how we connect with other people. Scorpio is about, are we giving or taking too much? So we might be asking those questions of ourselves. Am I giving too much in this relationship? We may have past betrayals come up, but they're coming up to heal during this process of the retrograde. And Scorpio is very good at revealing truths. So this could be a difficult first part of this retrograde, but know that one of the gifts of Scorpio is transforming the dark into the light. So it's here to bring things up in order to do them differently. The second part of the retrograde is in Libra. Venus is super happy in Libra. She's in rulership, and Libra is all about balance. So when we've had that deep dive, this second part of the retrograde is about rebalancing our relationships. It's about reclaiming harmony, reclaiming that sense of self-worth that we have within ourselves with Venus. So again, if we marry that with the Mercury retrograde, this is very much October and going into November, a period of reflection and review of our self-worth, the story we tell about ourselves, how we've got that information around us. We also have Chiron, the wounded healer, is going into Earth. So all these outer planets have gone into fire and air. Jupiter has gone into fire. The nodal axis has gone into fire and air. But we've got the balance from the Mercury retrogrades, and Chiron will enter for the first time in 50 years, will enter Taurus. Taurus is all about resources. And so this could bring up, in the beginning of this transit of Chiron in Taurus, we could have themes about money, resources, about our self-worth. What makes us feel stable and secure? Because sometimes the shadow of Taurus is that we find that security in stuff, in materialism. And I think this is about healing the wounds of really anchoring into an inner self-resilience and stability. Taurus is also very much about the body and the senses. And so we could be returning to a wisdom of our body. And remember, it's also about less is more. And Taurus, done really well, slows down, goes with the rhythms of nature. That's where the stability of Taurus and the comfort and the stability is found, is in the slowing down, which is a really interesting counterbalance to all this very fast energy that we have around it. So, summary of the themes, absolutely. This is who am I now? With all that Aries energy, are you brave enough to start again? Are you brave enough to honor the seeds that are being ignited in you? With that Leo energy, are you able to lead with your heart and not your ego? Are you able and ready to build a life that's aligned with your purpose and truth and not what the world expects? That nodal axis between Leo and Aquarius, it's about being true to yourself, Leo, and fitting in, Aquarius. So we're balancing those two. Chiron in Taurus, what are my values now? We've also got that Venus retrograde, but are my values stuff? Are they that material earth element, or do I value different things now? And how am I using my talents to help the greater good? That's the nodal axis that we've got. Some things we want to watch for with this: the rise of the digital guru. With all this Aries energy and all this tech, anybody can create the pictures, anybody can create the glossy. We have to beware of photographs, of videos, of things that we see with information. All that glitters may not indeed be gold. Remember, Leo is linked to gold and the South Node is there. We need to be really careful that these new spiritual brave warriors are also walking their walk. And one thing that we can do with that is we can really lean into our discernment and ask our hearts. We need to really actually unplug and ask ourselves. So beware of disconnecting from your heart. All that air energy can make you very in your head. We could also see a rise of groups and ideologies. That's the Aquarius element. Not all groups are necessarily for the greater good. Remember, that nodal axis is about balancing. Check back in with your heart. Leo is the group, Aquarius, fitting of what my heart is asking me. And yeah, beware of being too in your head. So what can we do? What things can we do to support ourselves? So we have fire and air. So we want to bring in the missing elements. We want to ground in nature. That's very Taurus. Slow down. Less is more. Bare feet on the ground. Remember that we have a body. The energy is very, very fast. We're going to be revving up our central nervous systems. So working with the body, somatic work, EFT, all these things will be very good at calming the central nervous system. Breath work is a really good way of working with the air element, of slowing down your breath, working with yoga. I think the homeopathic cell salts will be incredibly useful at this time because they're actually going to support and nourish our body. And I really like this quote from Dr. Carey from the Salts of Salvation. In the new age, we will need perfect bodies to correspond with the higher vibration or motion of the new blood for old bodies which cannot contain new wine. I think that quote very much speaks of the change that we have in this era. We're moving into the light body in so many different ways. And so the cell salts will really help to support our human physical body. Good organic diet, really prioritize good food, unplug as much as you can from technology. Remember, our central nervous system could feel wired. The last two, very much, they're harnessing the energy of the South Node. We begin the year, the first 6 months of the year, the South Node will still be in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of critical thinking and discernment. So that's how we counter all that glitters is not gold. Use your discernment, use your critical thinking in an information overload. And finally, Leo, Jupiter in Leo, South Node in Leo, connect with your heart. Ask your heart, does this align with my authentic self? And welcome to a new age of fire and air. Happy 2026.